The first thing Lu Shangji did after winning the top scholar title was to divorce his wife. The Shen family's daughter is virtuous, but she is too dull. He remarried a woman from the brothel, and I remarried a rich wastrel. Lu Shangji thought I was acting out of spite, marrying an uneducated dandy. He believed the Shen family's daughter valued wifely virtues above all, and that the wastrel was too unruly to control, so he would soon grow tired of a boring woman like me. He waited half a year, but never heard of me being divorced. When Lu Shangji couldn't help but come knocking, I was hitting my wastrel husband's head with a ruler, quite exasperated. The teacher explained it 3 times already, and you still don't understand. My wastrel husband wrapped his arm around my waist, grinning shamelessly. Can't understand it, want some candy. When my husband went to the capital for the imperial examination, he got entangled in a den of pleasure, that courtesan of exceptional beauty and talent, so proud of herself others couldn't buy even a smile from her with a fortune. Yet she alone took a liking to my husband Lu Xiangji, a poor provincial scholar from the countryside. Under the warm April sun, when Lu Xiangji paraded through the streets as the top scholar, she stubbornly knelt in the middle of the street, holding her indenture contract above her head, wearing not a single adornment pure and pristine like a lotus rising from water. Even those rough and gruff yamen runners couldn't bear to drive her away. If he doesn't acknowledge her, this girl would have slept with someone for nothing. She saved up to redeem herself and offended the madam, so she can only end up in a low-class brothel. Etska tsk, what a pity about Miss Bailing. She was such a pure and innocent person. That courtesan named Bailing had saved up 1,000 taels of silver to buy her own freedom. And I, the lawful wife of Lu Shangji, was arguing red-faced with someone over 5 wen. Pickled melon lady, your husband has become the top scholar. While I wasn't paying attention, that old hag Zhao grabbed the pickled melon and ran off like the wind. That old thieving hag. I stomped my foot and sighed. Pickled melon lady, hurry and go see on the street. I wiped my hands on my apron and pushed the pickled melon cart home. Little sister-in-law Yair chattered away while helping me push the cart. Sister-in-law, my brother became the top scholar. From now on, he'll buy flowers for you to wear and earn you a noble title. When we sell pickled melons later, that old hag won't dare to cheat a noble lady's money. I pursed my lips happily and laughed, cheeky. There were many people watching the scholars' parade, and the crowd was noisy and chaotic. I held little Yair's hand tightly and stood on tiptoe to look, and I saw that girl kneeling before Lu Shangji's horse. I stood at the side of the street, barely able to recognize the top scholar in red and green finery on a tall horse as my Lu Lang. Nor did I know what relationship this plainly dressed girl had with him. I only saw that my husband seemed to have his heart softened by the sun, reaching out his hand to her from atop the horse. The two rode together, surrounded by cheers and jeers, when well-wishers were about to wear out the doorstep. I returned home only to find that girl in white diligently greeting guests and seeing them off, serving tea and water, organizing the gifts and invitation cards in perfect order. As if she were the mistress of this household, seeing my coarse cloth clothes and empty hands without any gifts, she understood and smiled. Which household sent you as a maid? Or are you a relative from somewhere? Everyone's eyes fell upon me. A few of Lu Shangji's old friends from his years of studying wanted to speak up for me, but they were leisurely stopped by Lu Shangji's mother, Miss Bai Ling. This is Xiangji's cousin from the countryside. Before I could argue, my mother-in-law gave me a cold look and covered her nose. This Miss Bai is gentle and graceful, born of a prestigious family. Some people want to be the wife of the top scholar, but should at least look in the mirror and see if they're worthy now. I saw when my mother-in-law raised her handkerchief. Half of a gold bracelet was revealed. It was probably just gifted by Miss Bai Ling, and the prestigious family she spoke of was also a cover-up Lu Shangji deliberately made for Bai Ling's background. She thought now that her son had risen to prominence, noble ladies would be lining up to throw themselves at him. While she was speaking, Lu Shangji walked in. He glanced at us and furrowed his brow. Miss Bai just stood there quietly, gentle as winter moonlight, while I wore coarse cloth with a wooden hairpin smelling of pickles and brine. But so what? Before I married into the family, the Lu household didn't even have a roof over their heads. The path to scholarly fame that Lu Shangji walked, I earned it for him, carrying loads of pickled vegetables to the great scholar's doorstep through freezing winters and scorching summers. I looked at Lu Shangji calmly, enunciating each word. Lu Shangji, tell this young lady who I am. Lu Shangji hesitated, not daring to speak, only saying, "Ah Ju, Miss Bai is really pitiful." I understood everything. Seeing this, Miss Bailing suddenly knelt before me, lifted her head and offered me a cup of tea, stubborn yet with a hint of showing off. Sister Lu Lang has acknowledged me. Everyone saw the awkward atmosphere and hurried to smooth things over. With Brother Lu's talent, having a virtuous wife and beautiful concubine is just a matter of time. Sister-in-law's reputation for being virtuous is known throughout the village. How could she not make room for others? Yer carefully gripped my hand tighter, leaned closer to me, and called out uneasily, "Sister-in-law." "Who is your sister-in-law?" Mother Lu raised her hand and slapped Yar so hard she stumbled. Yar's face swelled up, and she didn't dare speak up for me anymore. I stood there, watching them chime in one after another, pressing my head down bit by bit, watching the guilt in Lu Shangji's eyes slowly turn into arrogance. Lu Shangji was lifted up to the clouds by the crowd of onlookers with their empty flattery. "Aju, you've always wanted to earn a noble title for the Shen family's daughter, but only I can give you that honor." I let out a cold laugh. Back then our Shen family honored the marriage agreement, never looking down on the poor or favoring the rich, never bullying you orphans. This thatched cottage, when I married into it, didn't even have half a roof tile. I worked tirelessly, drawing sweet spring water from the mountains to make pickles, my fingers cracking in winter, all to get you accepted by a great scholar. For 4 years I treated my mother-in-law like my own mother, serving her 3 meals a day through her illness. Your mother often made things difficult for me. I never had a single peaceful meal. Now the name of virtuous wife recorded in Lin County's chronicles, earned through 4 years of supporting the Lu family day after day, raising my sister-in-law, and serving my mother-in-law. What does it have to do with you, Lu Shangji? Lu Shangji was struck speechless, and even the onlookers fell silent. I straightened my back, eyes blazing, every word like a nail. I cultivated the virtue of Ban Zhao, with nothing to be ashamed of before heaven and earth. You read the sages' books in vain, blind, and foolish. Lu Shangji, you are not worthy of me, Shen Mingzhu. The divorce papers, and the IOU 2 flimsy sheets of paper. These 4 years, the money I earned for the Lu family, 30 taels a year, 120 taels over 4 years. I'll keep young Master Lu's IOU. Yer cried and tugged at my skirt. Sister-in-law, are you stupid? You are about to enjoy the good life. Why not just ignore them? Marrying down, you swallow gold. Marrying up, you swallow needles. I've already spent 4 years, days of giving away gold and silver. Must I spend the rest of my life swallowing needles in bitterness, walking down a dead-end alley? Lu Shangji delayed stamping his seal, waiting for me to bow my head and give in. I will be conferred titles of marquis and minister, while you, Shen Mingzhu, will become a laughingstock after being divorced, and you'll regret acting on impulse today. As long as you beg me a little, Miss Bai is willing to be a concubine, and you can still be the glorious wife of the top scholar. The stains on my skirt, every single spot reminded him of how destitute he once was, while Miss Bailing recited poetry and admired the moon, like a freshly picked snow orchid, setting off his current glory and pride. That Miss Bailing stared at me warily, afraid I would change my mind. A man who abandons his wife who shared his hardships is never a good man. Bailing stared at me blankly and argued. Lu Lang said, I am different from you. I dance the best Lu Yao, while you only know how to grow melons and pickle vegetables. I can play the most elegant drinking game of fei huling, while you only know how to haggle over prices. I am young and beautiful, pure and innocent, no different from you, serving mother-in-law, supporting my husband and teaching children. I won't be any worse than you in any of these. When she raised her head, I saw a faint scar on her neck. She didn't know that I had heard of her long ago. This girl wasn't originally named Bai Ling, But after falling into prostitution, a wealthy young man tried to force himself upon her, and she hanged herself with a white silk ribbon. After being saved, she swallowed gold, and then slit her throat with a dagger. The madam had seen fierce ones, but never one this fierce. After thinking it over, she gave her the nickname Bai Ling. It actually spread her reputation as a virtuous woman. The dandies had nothing to do, so they came up with some fun. They even set up a betting pool to see who could win over this fierce courtesan without force or coercion, using only sweet words and real gold and silver, build her up, take her down, then ruthlessly throw her from the clouds and trample her into the mud, watching her go lovesick, watching her go mad. Having seen countless fickle suitors, she thought Lu Shangji, dragged into the pleasure house by his rowdy friends, shy and flustered, was a good man. Little did she know, it was an empty purse that made him shy, and sudden wealth that made him flustered. I don't know whether to laugh at her naivety or pity her helplessness. Then I wish Miss all her heart desires. And I wish Lord Lu a smooth rise to greatness. As it turned out, Lu Shangji misjudged. The day after I took the divorce papers and left the Lu household, matchmakers came and went, blocking my pickle stall so tightly not even water could get through. Those who watched the spectacle yesterday compiled the whole story of the top scholar abandoning his humble wife to marry a brothel girl into a complete opera called The Tale of Lady Dung. The Tangly troupe chartered a pleasure boat on the river and sang it with all its warbling notes. The Shen family daughters are all known for their virtue, if not awarded a memorial arch, then recorded in the county annals. As the saying goes, a virtuous wife means fewer disasters for the husband. My son is good for nothing. He needs a virtuous wife to set the family right. Only those ignorant, impoverished families would take a flirtatious woman as the lady of the house. The matchmaker stacked the name cards on the stall, and quite a few young masters and dandies pretended to buy pickles while secretly sizing me up. No matter how heartless they are, I only recognize you as my sister-in-law. Yer lingered at my pickle stall, refusing to leave, standing on tiptoes to look at those name cards. She couldn't read many characters, but she spotted one and secretly tugged at my hem. Sister-in-law, I found a good one. I neatly arranged the vegetables without lifting my head. As long as he is a breathing man, no matter how good, I don't want him. Sister-in-law, this one won't be breathing for much longer. I heard the guest who placed the name card give a light cough. I was stunned and looked up, but I saw a servant woman with curved brows and gentle eyes, dressed properly and neatly, looking like a housekeeper's wife from some wealthy family. I recognized her. She had been buying pickles from me for 7 days. Miss Shen, my mistress sent me to present the betrothal gifts. Yar turned the name card over and over, frowning in confusion. Others wrote that their son was talented and handsome, but this card wrote that my son is unruly and gravely ill. Others wrote that their son would have fortune and longevity, but this card wrote that my son has little time left. This brother is almost dying from illness, and he still wants to marry a wife. 10 gold ingots were laid out on the pickle table, their golden gleam dazzling to the eyes. Our young master is seriously ill. The marriage is firstly to bring good fortune, and secondly, the young master has a strange temperament. The mistress says that in all of the capital, only Miss Shen has the resilient spirit to handle him. Saying this, the woman looked left and right, secretly leaned in close, and whispered, His Majesty already knows that our young master won't live past 3 years. The second young master of Duke Shi's manor, miss, can find out with a little inquiry. We wouldn't dare deceive the emperor. Our third miss is betrothed to Prince Xuan in the future. Seeking an imperial title for a widowed sister-in-law won't be difficult. For these 3 years, Miss and the young master will live separately. In the future, you'll have money, leisure, and no man, wouldn't that be a comfortable life? Honestly, I was a bit tempted, but I didn't want to gamble again. I pushed the gold back. Thank you for madam's kind offer. But though my stall is small, it is enough for me and Yair to get by. After I refused. The Shi family servant woman wasn't angry or annoyed. She still came every day with a smile to buy vegetables, leaving her family's second master's calling card to the side. But Yair hadn't come to my stall for half a month. I thought Mother Lu was keeping her in check, not letting her run around. But unexpectedly on this day when heavy rain fell, I was packing up my stall when I saw Yar collapsed at the doorway. Her whole body was frighteningly hot. Sister-in-law, it hurt so much. The doctor said Yair had whooping cough. She was brought in too late, and the fever hadn't gone down for 4 or 5 days. Buying medicine and seeing doctors was like pouring silver into water day after day with no end in sight. Yair often had fevers and slept a lot. Occasionally when she was awake, she would grab my sleeve and cry. Sister-in-law, my mother doesn't care about me, don't care about me either. I don't want to be a burden to you. That day I thought I was going to die, so I wanted to come see you. She cried herself out and fell into a deep sleep nestled against me. Mother Lu didn't like Yair, calling her a loose woman and a cheap slut. Lu Shangji didn't care much for this short, scrawny, timid little sister of his either. Girls in the village could wear floral cotton jackets, but Yar's tattered, padded coat was patched over and over, thin as old yellow paper. The day I married into the Lu family, Yair mustered up the courage to stop me. Her clothes were thin, and her warning sounded just as thin. If you dare bully me, I'll have my brother divorce you. On the 3rd day after I married in, I used the red cloth from my dowry to make Yar a bright red jacket. Yar held the bright red jacket and stood dazed for a long time, then burst into tears. From then on, Yar followed me with unwavering devotion. At first, Lu Shangji didn't like me, and Mother Lu made things difficult for me in many ways. But Mother taught me since I was young that as a wife, one must be respectful and filial, and not let the household be filled with gossip and strife. When Mother Lu scolded me for being lazy, Yair would speak up for me in front of Lu Shangji. When Mother Lu couldn't stand seeing me get close to Lu Shangji, Yair would lie and say we weren't alone, that she was there too. Yair also secretly told me about Lu Shangji's preferences and temperament. My brother loves noodles and wheat foods. He is poor but cares a lot about his pride. These 4 years with Yair, my life has been much easier. I can't just leave her be. I accepted the Shia family's invitation. I don't want betrothal gifts. I only want the Shia family to cure her. The Shia family invited imperial physicians from the palace and spared no expense on medicine. Yair's illness improved day by day. I accepted the visiting card from the 2nd son of the Shia family, and the news that I was going to remarry into the Shia family had already spread far and wide. The neighboring Tangli Gardens tale of Lady Dung had already performed to the part to save her sister-in-law. Lady Dung fed herself to the tigers and wolves alone. I sat listening to that female lead. Her eyes flowing with emotion, sorrowful like an orchid weeping dew. Seats were hard to come by, but it was a bargain for us vendors across the water. Hearing the whole thing, people watched, then cursed the top scholar, then cursed she, the tiger and wolf. Then they came to my stall to buy some pickled melons, urging me to live my days, well, no matter how hard it gets. There were also uninvited guests. It was Lu Shangji. He blocked my pickled melon stall. This Shi Wuyang you are marrying. I know him. Back when we were at Master Lu's place, I had many disagreements with him, and the master also disliked his arrogant and perverse ways. Master Lu was a great scholar of Lianzhou, who once lectured to the princes. Both old and new factions sought to win him over, but he declined official positions, living leisurely in Crane Mountain, enjoying flowers and wine. During hot and cold seasons, I would carry pickled vegetables up the mountain for him and draw spring water from the mountain to brew his tea. In exchange, he took Lu Shangji as his disciple. Besides, you are dull and boring. Don't understand elegance. He'll grow tired of you soon enough. I looked at Lu Shangji and couldn't figure out when he had started looking down on me so much. He clearly once swore at my parents' grave that he would never take a concubine and would treat me well. He clearly once stayed up late copying texts for others, earning money to buy me a silver hairpin, saying he was blessed to have such a virtuous wife. Even that boat belongs to Shi Wuyang's theater troupe, keeping actors and courtesans for pleasure. Look at yourself. It is not like you are some heavenly beauty. Him marrying you might not be sincere, most likely. He just wants to spite me. As he spoke, the pleasure boat docked at the shore. The Huadan was seen leaning on the railing across the water, laughing so hard her body swayed. Young Master Lu thinks too highly of himself. Hearing the mockery, Lu Shangji turned his head in displeasure, but seeing it was a breathtakingly beautiful woman, his tone softened a bit. Then, what does the lady think is the reason Shi Wuyang would marry a divorced woman? She lazily glanced at Lu Shangji, then let her smile fall on me. Everyone says marry a virtuous wife, but who knows if a woman is virtuous before she is married over? Your wife is virtuous, so I'll marry her. I stared blankly at the Huadan before me, only now realizing her tall stature. It was just that she had been sitting earlier, so I couldn't tell. Lu Shangji finally realized the person before him was his old rival Shi Wuyang, and said angrily, "Shi Wuyang, dressing up like this lowly performer, aren't you ashamed to disgrace scholars?" "Shen Mingju, you heard it all, he is, only marrying you to spite me." I looked at Shi Wuyang before me, dressed in opera costume, playing the role of a hadanan, and my heart began to waver. Back then, Lu Shangji was his classmate, and told me he was a dandy raised among silk and brocade. At 10 years old, Shi Wuyang's reputation as a child prodigy had already spread throughout the capital. At 14, a classical ode he composed before the emperor stunned everyone, and His Majesty bestowed upon him a tall cap and wide sash. At 17, he ascended Heshan Mountain and became a disciple under Master Luev. Varion thought he would enter court as an official, with a limitless future ahead. Yet at 19 he fell gravely ill, and upon waking sawed wood to make a coffin and sang while striking a basin. He said he'd caught an illness in his dream and wouldn't live past 3 years. Since he couldn't live 3 years, he might as well live each day to the fullest. From then on, he went mad. He stopped studying and only indulged in pleasures. He composed bawdy songs, painted erotic pictures, and when the mood struck, he'd powder his face to sing opera and mingle with the lowest class. From then on, no one spoke of the young genius Shi Wuyang anymore. There was only the dandy, rogue, scoundrel, and lecher second young master Xia. Does the Xia family really think I can set him on the right path? His Majesty once had me select flower and bird envoys to enter the palace. No matter what earthly beauties or celestial maidens from the Moon Palace I've seen, my heart has never stirred. Yet back then on Heshan Mountain, when I saw the lady washing silk and drawing water in a thorn hairpin and plain skirt, I couldn't forget her at first sight. His words made my cheeks burn, and I lowered my head. Shi Wuyang wore rosy peach-colored face paint, his smiling eyes rippling like water. This Shi thinks such a fine lady shouldn't have to live such a hard life. The gifts sent by the Shi family filled the entire courtyard. The place I rented was just 1 street away from Lu Shangji. The gift-bearing procession played music and drums, stretching from the street's head to the alley's end, with no end in sight. Yar had never seen such fine things, carefully touching this and looking at that, asking softly, "Auntie Yan, are these betrothal gifts for my sister-in-law?" Only then did I learn that the servant woman who came to my stall was the housekeeper's wife, surnamed Yan. Seeing how clever Yair was, Madame Yan smiled. "These aren't betrothal gifts, they're personally sent by our second young master for the young lady. The rouge and clothes are to enhance the lady's trousseau, and the bird's nest and donkey hide gelatin are to nourish the lady's complexion." Lu Shangji's expression was very unpleasant, because when I married him back then, the betrothal gifts were only 2 rolls of red cloth and 3 taels of silver, because he was certain that Shi Wuyang's intention to marry me wasn't genuine, just to spite him and watch the joke unfold. Now Shi Wuyang's personal gifts alone made him look cheap and shabby in comparison. Hearing about the bird's nest and donkey hide gelatin, Mother Lu's eyes gleamed. So much bird's nest and donkey hide gelatin. Can she even finish it all? Once a mother, forever a mother. As long as I ask, would she dare refuse? That Miss Bailing stood to the side, after marrying into the Lu family. She looked more haggard. Presumably Mother Lu's punishments of making me stand at attention and serve medicine that she used on me had also been applied to her. Looking at the boxes of clothes, dresses, and jewelry, a hint of envy flickered in her eyes, but fearing Lu Shangji's displeasure, she lowered her head. My young master knows Miss Shen is kind-hearted, so he sent 4 maids and servants to attend to her. Madame Yan had been managing the household for many years after all, and her words hid barbs beneath their softness. The servants in our manor can't compare to those in other households. Their mouths are somewhat lacking in manners. If anyone gets any crooked ideas, don't blame the servants for saying unpleasant things. The maids put away the gifts, leaving only the bottom box, which Shi Wuyang had instructed me to open myself. It was an exquisitely carved lacquer box, even more refined than the boxes holding pearls and jade. Opening it, there were no ornaments inside, just the 4 treasures of the study: paper from Xuanzhou, ink from Huizhou, brush from Huzhou, inkstone from Duanzhou. Thinking of how Shi Wuyang said he had seen me at Crane Mountain, my heart stirred. Could it be that he saw everything I did at Crane Mountain that day? On the day of the wedding, Yair was very reluctant to part, yet happy for me. Sister-in-law, though I've never met him. I feel that Brother Shi is a good person. Silly Yair, did a few bowls of sweet soup buy you over? The maids stewed donkey hide gelatin and bird's nest, and Yair ate with them for half a month. Her face had gotten plumper. Yair brushed away my hand, pinching her chubby face, and looked at me very seriously. Sister Aju, I don't want to call you sister-in-law anymore, even though I really want you to be my sister-in-law for a lifetime. But I know that since you married my brother, you haven't had a single good day. My mother and my brother are not good people. Everyone praises you as a virtuous wife, but I don't think you are happy. I've seen you dip your finger in water to write characters and poems on the rocks at the foot of Crane Mountain, seen you stand outside the school listening for a long time, and seen you secretly reading my brother's homework. Back then, I thought, the real Sister Aju has always been hidden away by you, sister-in-law. Although everyone says the young master of the Xia family is no good. Although I don't know the young master of the Xia family that day when I saw what was inside the red box. I thought the young master of the Xia family must have also seen the real you, sister. I listened to Yair's words in a daze, my eyes actually reddening, and I laughed and scolded her. Where did you pick up such reasoning? Yair shook her head, smiling smugly. My sister Azu is smart. She fooled them all. So what of it? He married me for my reputation of being virtuous. From now on, I'll just be wearing this mask of a virtuous wife, living out my days, waiting for death. The Shen family of Lin County has always produced virtuous wives, many of whom earned memorial arches and were recorded in county annals, praised by everyone. Actually, before I was married, I wasn't so well behaved. Those rules and lectures of the Shen family sounded so absurd. When I was little, I thought my aunts just weren't as smart as me. That is why they were fooled. How did I become a hollow person without a temper after getting married, swallowing all the bitterness, still having to put on a smiling face to please others? Later, Mother told me, a person's mouth is a knife that kills without drawing blood, the most wicked thing in the world. The reputation that generations of Shen family daughters have built is both a shackle and a lifeline. I didn't understand this before. I only knew that by ruining my reputation, the Shen family daughters after me would have a hard time. Just like now with my divorce from Lu Shangji, if I didn't have a good reputation, who would lend me a helping hand? I patted Yar on the head. Yar is clever, but when deceiving others, don't end up deceiving yourself too. If the world is harsh on women, bowing your head to survive is fine, but you must never develop a taste for the life of a slave. All ceremonies were completed. I sat upright in the room, clutching the skirt on my lap tightly. The room was filled with lamplight reflecting red shadows, bright as brilliant stars. Under the bridal veil, when Shi Wuyang's face drew near, the entire room suddenly lost its luster. Before my eyes, he wore a bright red wedding robe, and though he had removed his stage makeup, his face was even more striking and vivid. The wedding robe outlined his broad shoulders and narrow waist, always reminding me of that day on the pleasure boat when he played a female role and was equally enchanting. Zi Wuyang curled up the corners of his lips, smiling innocently like a child who got candy. Oh my, Azu is my wife now. After removing his adornments, he lazily lay back, seeing that I was still sitting stiffly upright. He reached out and hooked his arm around my waist, pulling me down to lie beside him. Gazing at the red canopy above, I didn't dare let my guard down, so I asked him, "What time should we serve tea to mother-in-law tomorrow?" Just as we were talking, the head housekeeper's wife from the Shia residence came over, and Madame Yan passed on a message through the door with a smile. "The master and madam said that marrying into our family has already wronged you, madam. No need for the tea ceremony, no need for morning greetings. Money is in the treasury, don't bother us unless necessary." I didn't quite believe it, and tugged at Shi Wuyang's sleeve, managing the household, entertaining guests, serving meals. I can do all of these very well. You don't need to worry about any of that. You just need to keep me company eating, drinking, and having fun. Impossible Mother used to teach me that when a woman in this world gets married, she bids farewell to the carefree days of being a daughter. Living under someone else's roof, if you still act as freely as you did at your maiden home, people will point fingers and gossip, and you might even be cast out by your husband's family. Besides, I never fantasized that marrying Shi Wuyang would lead to a good life. Is there anything else? There is, but can you really do it? I can. Xi Wuyang suddenly leaned his face close, pointed at himself, and smiled shamelessly, kissing and sleeping together. I suddenly felt my head ache a little. I am so hurt. Shi Wuyang rested his head on his hand and let out a long sigh. I don't have many days left to live anyway, and you still won't let me kiss you. I really couldn't bring myself to say the words kissing. I had no idea how he could shamelessly keep it on his lips. Is it true that you won't live much longer? Does my wife wish for me to live long, naturally, liar? Shi Wuyang saw right through me at a glance. Sigh, I know my wife is also hoping I die soon. That is not true. I don't really know you. Mostly I've heard rumors about you, saying you are a debauched playboy. If the rumors are true, I don't wish you a long life. I sat up and sighed, but if I believed every rumor, that would be unfair to you. My wife actually doesn't know me from rumors. He propped himself up and smiled. Then I shall work hard not to disappoint you. The Shia family wants me here, hoping I can keep you in line, make you focus on your studies, and earn you a good reputation. I understand now. My wife wants me to study, is that right? I nodded. So if I study seriously, can I get a kiss? Can I or can't I? The news that the Shia family invited Master Lu and that Shi Wuyang was going to study seriously instantly caused a sensation in the capital. Even His Majesty teased Marquis Shi, saying a prodigal who returns is worth more than gold, and he'd like to see what his second son could amount to. Now that the second young Master Shi was going to study, the tale of Lady Dung had stopped, and even lazy morning grooming and slow flower hairpin that the palace consorts loved to watch had no continuation. I found the script books on his desk, and only then realized all these plays that were popular throughout the capital were written by him. Summer days are long, the wind blows through the corridor, bamboo shadows sway, closing the play script. Those lyrics still felt fragrant on my lips. Shi Wuyang lazily covered his face with a book for a nap, not hiding his smugness. Hurry and praise me. No time to praise him. I need to go prepare meals for Master Lu back. When Lu Shangji was at Crane Mountain, I would often climb the mountain twice a day to bring them meals. Hermit Liu wanted to eat cold pickled fish with Gordon Urial and lily bulb porridge in summer dishes that took a lot of effort to prepare. I was about to leave, but Shi Wuyang hooked his finger around my waistband and pulled me into his embrace. We agreed that I need my wife to accompany my studies, otherwise I can't focus on the books. I was both embarrassed and annoyed, trying to push him away. Didn't you say just a key kiss would be enough? Not enough? Shi Wuyang smiled shamelessly. Ah, Ju needs something from me, so naturally you have to listen to me. Hermit Liu's footsteps grew closer, and I softened. Fine. I'll listen from the side room. Not enough? You need to be by my side. Shi Wuyang propped himself up. Otherwise, I can't pay attention. To be honest, I really wanted to listen to Hermit Liu's lectures. Back when Hermit Liu was taking disciples, the entrance exam was to complete half a poem. When I was carrying pickled vegetables up Crane Mountain, I racked my brains the whole way and finally came up with 2 lines. That night, when I showed the second half of the poem to Lu Shangji, I thought he would praise my literary talent. He didn't praise me, just gave me a cold glance. Just for this, you were late delivering meals today? From then on, I never discussed poetry with Lu Shangji again. If I ever had some inspiration, I would dip my finger in spring water and write a few poems on the rocks by the stream. The poems on the rocks were either washed away by the water or dried up by the sun. No one would see them, no one would know, and no one would mock me. Lu the Hermit, with his white crane-like hair and white beard, saw me and nodded with a smile. Then he saw Shi Wuyang, and his face darkened halfway as he sighed. If it weren't for craving the dishes made by Madame Shen, this old man wouldn't have come to invite such bad luck. I was afraid Shi Wuyang would say, or do something improper and offend Lu the Hermit. But Shi Wuyang's expression was respectful, his manners impeccable, not at all like when he fooled around with me. He bowed deeply in the formal ceremony of accepting a master, then pulled me along to bow again. This junior Shia was arrogant and reckless in my past self, ignorant of my own limitations. Now I seek your teachings, and this junior, along with my wife Shen Mingzhu, wish to become your disciples together. Lu the Hermit stroked his beard and said nothing. I was afraid Lu the Hermit would think Shi Wuyang was insulting him, or scold me for being improper as a woman. But Lu the Hermit didn't look at him, only asked me with a serious face. Do you know that studying is not a woman's proper duty? There is no path to court or officialdom for you to walk. No one will know of your learning. Even so, do you still want to study? At this moment, I couldn't lie to myself. Even if poetry is like water on stone, leaving no trace after a moment, I still want to pursue perfection. I want to. This was the most improper thing I had said in my 19 years of life. Very well, for the ceremony of accepting a master, I'll need the complete version of Tale of the Lantern Lady. Your Shifu's wife wants to read Lazy at the Vanity, so you'll need to finish at least 1 book before the Kixi Festival. Liu the Hermit nodded. It is just that Wu Yang's reputation will sound even worse now. Reputation. That is the last thing I want. Shi Wuyang helped me up and smiled. Compared to a bad reputation, the world's praise is what is truly terrifying. The teacher assigned homework and instructed me to keep an eye on Shi Wuyang. Shi Wuyang wrote excellent play scripts, but couldn't produce proper scholarly essays. I wrote an opening for him, but even after the ink dried, there was still nothing to follow. I stood beside him, holding the ruler, and helplessly tapped Shi Wuyang on the head. The teacher has already explained it 3 times. You still don't understand. He wrapped his arm around my waist, looked up, and grinned roguishly. Don't understand, want a kiss. At least finish writing this piece first before. I tried to push him away. Xi Wuyang suddenly furrowed his brow, clutching his chest. Wife, it hurts here. My hand froze, afraid I might have hurt him. While I lowered my head off guard, he pulled me into his arms. With just a tilt of his head, his lips brushed mine like a dragonfly skimming water, a fleeting taste. His lips were stained with my rouge, adding a touch of allure. I saw in his eyes, clearly, a triumphant smile. Hee, got a kiss! I was so angry I wanted to hit him, but he stuck to me like a plaster, pressing his face against mine. Go ahead and hit me. I don't believe you'd actually beat me to death. Wu Yang and I were fooling around, and neither of us heard the maid announce that young Master Lu and Miss Bai Ling had arrived. The maidservant stood outside, head lowered, smiling with pursed lips, for who knows how long. Until I heard behind me Lu Shangji's angry voice, "Where is Shen Mingzhu?" I was held in Shi Wuyang's embrace. Seeing only my back, Lu Shangji couldn't recognize me. In Lu Shangji's memory, Shen Mingzhu wore wooden hairpins and plain clothes, behaved properly, a virtuous wife molded from a template. Now the person before him had pearl hairpins in her hair, wearing a gold-speckled brocade skirt, and was fooling around improperly with Shi Wuyang in the study. There was even my rouge on his face. How did this look anything like Shen Mingzhu? What do you want with my wife? Young Master Shi is quite the romantic, already having a new lover half a month after marriage. Lu Shangji sneered. I am asking where Shen Mingzu is in the kitchen, or have you grown tired of her and kicked her out? I turned my head from Shi Wuyang's embrace to look at him. Lu Shangji froze. He stood among the bamboo shadows, the emotions on his face obscure and unclear. He stared at me fixedly, from the rouge at my lips to the gorgeous dress, finally landing on the arm Shi Wuyang had around my waist. That banknote in his hand was clenched tighter and tighter. Seeing his anger, Miss Bailing's expression dimmed bit by bit. Shi Wuyang, as if the matter wasn't big enough, nuzzled against my neck. Wife, he says he is looking for you. Can't I see that myself? Is there something young Master Lu needs? Here is 120 taels of silver. I no longer owe you anything. I was quite surprised. He had just passed the imperial examination as the top scholar, and the emperor hadn't even granted him an official position yet. Without a salary, where did he get so much money? Lu Shangji handed over the banknotes, but Shi Wuyang wouldn't have it, putting on an air of propriety between men and women. Men and women shouldn't touch hands when giving or receiving things, just hand it to the maidservant. Looking at the nonchalant Shi Wuyang, Lu Shangji arrogantly lifted his chin. Shi Wuyang, with your lack of ambition, wasting your days away so frivolously, sooner or later you'll squander away your family fortune. Shi Wuyang hugged me with a grin. I am not afraid at all. I have the best wife in the world to support me. Lu Shangji left. Only then did Shi Wuyang drop that nonchalant act, looking at me seriously. I can do many things: calligraphy, painting, seal carving, singing opera, writing scripts, carrying water, tending the garden. No matter what situation we're in, I can always afford the finest rouge for my wife. So what? Since I can afford rouge, I get to have a kiss. Caught off guard. He stole another bit of color from my lips. Not liking Shi Wuyang is a very difficult thing. He would write annotations to my poems, saying he'd compile them into a collection. He would wear the most vibrant red robes, like a dancing candle flame gazing into one's eyes. He would rush excitedly into the room, stirring up the bead curtain like scattered raindrops, presenting the roasted chestnuts I had casually mentioned. No matter how he tried to please me, no matter how my heart trembled, I always kept my guard up, never daring to give him my heart. I was afraid of too many things, afraid he'd be unfaithful, afraid he'd die young. Even Yair would ask him, "It was only after marrying you that Sister Aju started living a good life. But Sister Aju is so cold. Doesn't Brother Shi feel it is unfair?" Shi Wuyang lightly flicked Yair's forehead. "Even without me, my wife can live very well. She can support herself. She can make her life beautiful. Besides, I want to treat her well. What has that got to do with her?" Yair winked and made faces at me through the window. Days passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the Kixi festival. It rained that day, and the theater troupe put on lazy morning makeup. Tale of the Lantern Lady had already reached the part. A lone boat on a bitter sea, a trapped beast regretting what shouldn't have been. I held the script and asked Shi Wuyang. Lu Shangji is now so proud and satisfied, with a beauty by his side. Why is he a trapped beast, and where does this lone boat adrift on a bitter sea come from? Xi Wuyang just shook his head, saying those were very disgraceful matters, and Aju shouldn't hear a single word of it. This August had much rain, and Tutor Liu enjoyed staying in the mountains listening to the rain. Even the lessons had loosened considerably. Nothing major happened in the capital. Several counties in the south suffered floods. With Minister Kui's strong recommendation, His Majesty appointed Lu Shangji to assist with disaster relief. Lu Shangji was truly at the height of his glory now. Previous Zhuangyuan and Tanhua scholars usually had to toil in court for years. Now, with someone in court to support him, a meteoric rise was just a matter of time. Yair had some free time, and often came to my place to study with me. This day the sky was overcast, as if it was about to pour. Yair came running in tears, begging me to save Miss Bailing. When Shi Wuyang and I hurried there, we found a crowd had already gathered around the Liu family's place. Miss Bailing had her hair disheveled, holding a knife against her neck, eyes swollen, face covered in tears. She was crying so hard she couldn't get a single word out. Mother Lu was dressed in silk finery, wearing gold bracelets as thick as fingers on her wrists, sitting leisurely among a group of servant women, cracking melon seeds as if watching a show. "Go ahead and die then. What are you pretending to be a chaste woman for? Who are you trying to scare?" Others didn't understand what was happening. So Mother Lu pointed at Bailing and laughed. "This whore tricked my son saying she'd gone straight. Now that my son's away, she is doing business behind closed doors at home." Bailing shook her head desperately, crying so hard she almost retched her heart out. She pinched her arm until it was bruised purple before she could cry out. "It was your son who brought people into my room." These words were like water in a hot oil pan, stirring up a wave of discussion. Mother Lu's face couldn't hold up anymore, and she reached out to grab Bailing's hair. "You are a prostitute yourself, and yet you are trying to tarnish my son's reputation. My son is a Zhuangyuan. How could he possibly do such a thing? Back then it was her who seduced him. That is why my son divorced his first wife." The crowd was suddenly reminded and chimed in one after another. "Yeah, Lu Shangji studied the books of sages. How could he possibly do such a thing?" Before her eyes, Mother Lu was dressed elegantly and richly, while Bailing was disheveled and filthy, crying and screaming hysterically. Bailing had a knife in her hand. Mother Lu didn't dare approach, only kept cursing her for being crazy. The words of a crazy woman are not to be believed. She broke down hysterically, and people just took it as a joke. This joke was more absurd than any opera script. She said Lu Shangji was going to marry her at first. Though there were no formal betrothal gifts, he always brought her to banquets. She naturally believed she was loved, because she could dance the most beautiful luyao, could write the most elegant flying flower verses. Because, though she was born in the mud, she had kept her body and heart clean and pure. She, like all women in the world, deserved to be loved. And her Lu Lang, who could abandon his first wife for her, was a man she could entrust her life to, until at a banquet, Kui Li, the son of the minister, spoke to her with frivolous and lewd words. Yet Lu Lang just smiled along. That Kui Li was the wealthy young man who had tried to force himself upon her. She didn't know how much wine she'd been forced to drink, but when she woke in alarm, she saw Kui Li tugging at her waistband. She screamed herself hoarse for Lu Lang, begging him to save her. Just a door away, Lu Shangji didn't respond. In the pouring rain, only the sound of the door lock gently clicking shut fell upon her heart like thunder. "He said Mingzhu invited a great scholar for me, supported my studies. So naturally I love her." He said, Bailing, "Your background is no cleaner than hers. Why should I love you?" "What can I give him? All I have is this body, enough for him to step on to climb higher." Rain poured down from the sky, drenching her heart, ice cold. Exhausted from crying, the knife in her hand clattered to the ground with a cold sound. Bailing laughed instead. "I am such a fool. Why would I want to die? It is all selling anyway, selling myself to him, Lu Shangji. I am worth nothing. Better to sell myself to someone else and make him regret it for the rest of his life." In plain clothes and bare feet, she walked into the curtain of rain. The alley was deep and dark, like an endless abyss that kept falling with no bottom in sight. It wasn't like this. It shouldn't have been like this one wrong step. But you can't keep making wrong steps. I kept feeling something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. The minister's son, the fierce woman from the brothel, falling from the clouds, rising to prominence. A terrifying thought surfaced, and I actually felt a chill run up my spine. What if this wasn't a rescue from the brothel? What if Bailing was Lu Shangji's token of allegiance from the very beginning? When the two met in the brothel, Bailing thought she had found a good man, but she had already fallen into Lu Shangji's trap. That day during the top scholars' parade, Bailing shyly yet bravely offered up her entire life. Lu Shangji sat on horseback, looking down at that deed of servitude. What he saw wasn't a woman betting her once-in-a-lifetime affection, but an entry ticket to the arena of fame and fortune. She thought degrading herself meant degrading Lu Shangji, Little did she know this was also Lu Shangji's final game, glimpsing the darkest depths of my former bedside companion. I couldn't stop trembling. Shi Wuyang steadied me, and for the first time, he sighed. That was a despicable person. Aju, don't think about it anymore. In the blink of an eye, the north wind grew fierce. When Lu Shangji returned from the south, he learned that Bailing had gone back to Chunfeng House and hung up her nameplate, but showed no reaction. These days, things were unsettled outside. Undercurrents surged in the court, and many officials submitted memorials impeaching Minister Kui, their words pointing to the Southern Relief Mission with implications of embezzlement. I heard that officials often came and went from the Lu residence as well. But for me and Shi Wuyang, the final act of Tale of the Lamp Lady with its happy reunion was the most important matter. The costume was brilliant as morning clouds. Shi Wuyang played the female chancellor, and was actually more dazzling than in men's attire, stunning me several times. Don't move around. I applied rouge for him. The brush tickled him, making him restless, constantly blinking at me. Acting in plays is quite improper. Won't my wife talk me out of it? For a woman in her chambers to publish a poetry collection is also quite improper. These days, as summer turned to winter, Tale of the Lamp Lady was nearing its end. Only then did I realize a year had passed, and the time left for me and Shi Wuyang was just 2 more years. He had once seen the me unknown to others beneath Crane Mountain. I too wanted to see the him that the world would not accept. Does my wife know? At first I really disliked you. I, Shi Wuyang, fancy myself arrogant and aloof, looking down on those worldly people who chase after petty gains. And I also despise people like you, rule-bound, boring, muddling through life. Just like in Teacher Liu's academy, those scholars with pursuit of truth and knowledges always on their lips are merely seeking golden houses and beauties. Being among them felt like sitting on pins and needles. I found their hypocrisy laughable. Living in this world felt like wearing shackles to me, like being trapped in a dark room. I deeply loathed the world, and I deeply loathed myself. That day when I came down from Crane Mountain, I was thinking whether to shave my head and become a monk, or retreat to the deep mountains, or find a rope to hang myself. But I saw you under the scorching sun, squatting by the stream writing poems. Those poems would vanish without a trace in moments. No one would ever know of them. Yet she relished it. I had no other thoughts, only that the sun was so fierce. I should hold an umbrella for this girl. 1,000 years of darkness, 1 candle brings light. Wife, there is something I want to confess to you. Before he could speak, they were already calling him to go on stage. I watched Shi Wuyang from the shadows below the stage, but caught off guard, someone covered my mouth and nose from behind. Before I could cry out, the next moment a rough rope had already tightened around my neck. Lu Shangji's hoarse voice came by my ear. Mingzhu, it is me. These past days going south for disaster relief, Minister Kui being investigated, troubles inside and out. One after another. He had lost a lot of weight, gloomy like a hungry snake. I am so tired of living, Mingzhu. Let's die together. Okay. Lu Shangji pinned me down tightly, the rope tightening bit by bit. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. He let out a long sigh, as if trying to sincerely dig out that poisoned true heart to show me. You've heard about Bailing's matter, so you should know. I love you deeply, and my heart has never changed. Immense fear seized me completely. In my struggle, I knocked over a vase. I thought I'd found a sliver of hope, but the sound of the vase shattering was drowned out by the thunderous applause. Just as I was about to suffocate, I saw that fiery red figure leap down from the stage and rush toward me. I nearly burst into tears. Watch out, he has a dagger. I clutched my neck, kneeling on the ground, coughing uncontrollably. Lu Shangji fought like a cornered beast, while Shi Wuyang shielded me tightly in his arms. A group of martial arts performers subdued Lu Shangji. Why? Why do you all look down on me? Why do you all have to make things difficult for me? Lu Shangji was pinned to the ground, his eyes almost dripping blood. No one ever looked down on you. It is you who looks down on yourself. Zi Wuyang, I hate people like you the most, you elites born with everything. How could you ever understand the hardship of my years of painstaking study? How could you understand that I had no choice but to bow my head and submit, had no choice but to be swept along, hating those above you, or hating yourself for not being above others? Shi Wuyang sneered coldly. A Jew, Yar Bai Ling. When have you ever treated others as human beings? Several servants hurried off to fetch a doctor. I trembled all over with fear, and Shi Wuyang held me in his arms, coaxing me gently. But I felt something warm and wet on my hand. Looking up in shock, I saw blood seeping through at his chest. He was injured. I hurriedly tried to support him, only to find wounds on both his shoulder and back. Zi Wuyang, don't scare me. My tears kept falling, afraid I couldn't see his wounds clearly. I wiped them away hastily. Don't cry, my wife. I was going to die anyway. Zi Wuyang's face was pale as he forced a nonchalant smile. At least you weren't hurt. Besides, it doesn't hurt at all. Before he could finish, he passed out. Prime Minister Liu was thrown into prison, and Madame Liu, overwhelmed by grief and joy, suffered a stroke while crying and making a scene at the Yamen gates, and died. Only Yair remained by my side. Shi Wuyang was unconscious for half a month. The doctor said the injuries weren't life-threatening yet. He showed no signs of waking up. I stayed by his side day and night, feeding him medicine and washing him. I felt guilty, but the Shi family didn't blame me. They said Shi Wuyang had always had a chronic illness, and besides, he willingly saved you. The room was so quiet that only the sound of snow could be heard. Turns out, without Shi Wuyang, silence is a terrifying thing. Shi Wuyang always knew how to make life lively. Today it snowed heavily, and the whole world was a vast expanse of white. A few days ago, on the winter solstice, it snowed just as heavily. Shi Wuyang said he traded the script of Slow Hairpin Flower to His Majesty for a plum garden where the red plums were blooming beautifully right now. Every room in the Shia residence received full vases of red plum blossoms. Only when I returned to my own room, my arms were empty, with just the fragrance of plum blossoms embracing me completely. The maids even complained about him. How absent-minded. He even forgot the lady's share. I didn't care about the plum blossoms the others took. I only brushed the wind and snow off his shoulders and offered him hot tea, worried he might catch a cold. Ji Wuyang's eyes sparkled as he secretly pulled me onto the horse and wrapped me in a thick fox fur cloak. There were red plums covering the mountains and fields, as brilliant as fire burning on the snow. He had caught a chill and kept sneezing, yet still didn't forget to boast. What I gave them was just a tiny bit. All of this is yours. Being loved by Shi Wuyang is a very blissful thing. Everything he gives is blatant favoritism back. When I divorced Liu Shangji, I wasn't that brave. From the moment I stepped out of the Liu family's door, I was afraid. A man wanting to take a concubine, how perfectly justified. That I couldn't tolerate a concubine made me jealous and wicked. I was afraid the world would speak so badly of me. Madame Yen told me that after the young master went back, he stayed up all night writing the first 3 acts of the tale of Dongyang. The very next day it was performed, and those who came to watch didn't even have to pay for tea. Wild and unruly as Shi Wuyang was, he never cared about getting caught in the rain of this mortal world. Yet he was still willing to hold an umbrella for me, but I was always stingy with him. Countless times I dreamed of Shi Wuyang waking up. Beneath the windowsill, dressed in red, he would tap my head gently with his folding fan, bending down to peek at me. Really crying. Got tricked by me, didn't you? Or in the afternoon, amidst a room filled with the bitter smell of medicine, hearing him call me wife in that sweet, honeyed voice. But when I woke, he still lay there. Those eyes, so suited for smiling or pouting, had never once opened. Madame Liu told me there was a village doctor in the wild mountains of Heshan who used strange remedies but had his own methods. Child, hurry and pack up. I'll make the trip for your family. That man has remarkable skills. Let him look at the prescription, maybe with some changes, adding or removing things. There might be hope. I braved the snow to rush to the study, sorting out Shi Wuyang's old prescriptions. I didn't know what the commotion outside was about. You want to remarry? I heard someone stumble and push open the door behind me. That voice behind me carried a hint of grievance, like the most vivid one among countless auditory hallucinations and dreams from this past half-month. I turned to look. Heaven and earth were covered in endless white snow. Only he remained before my eyes and in my heart. Igzi Wuyang's well-defined hand gripped the doorframe, barely managing to stand. He wore only a single layer of clothing, his long hair falling disheveled, making his sickly pale face appear even more pallid. I stared at him blankly, those prescriptions slipping from my hands one by one. His body was still weak, his rapid breaths puffing out thin wisps of mist, yet he stubbornly insisted on asking again, "Who are you marrying?" Before he could collapse, I rushed forward first and held him tightly. Tears soaked and stung the corners of my eyes as I heard myself crying and laughing at the same time. "I won't marry anyone, except for the second young master of the Xia family. I won't marry anyone." The snow had stopped, the room filled with the scent of medicine. So it was Shifu's wife wanting to change the prescription. Shi Wuyang coughed lightly. "In my dream I heard something about change and marry, and thought you were going to remarry. I got so angry and anxious that I woke up." I lowered my head with a faint smile, but thinking of his remaining lifespan, my expression dimmed again. The divine physician Shifu's wife invited was truly skilled within 3 days. Shi Wuyang could already eat and drink normally. I was still worried about his old ailment, so I asked the divine physician if there was any solution. The divine physician was stunned for a moment, then smiled in realization. "Boil coptis root in water and drink it for 3 full years, and the stubborn illness can be cured." "Just coptis root can cure the illness?" "Young lady, go ask the second young master, and you'll know whether this prescription works or not." Coptis root was extremely bitter. Shi Wuyang held the medicine bowl, and just one sip made his brows furrow tightly. So the fearless Shi Wuyang, who feared neither heaven nor earth, was actually afraid of bitter medicine. 1 dose of coptis, and he confessed everything. I felt life was meaningless, that living had no point, and I originally wanted to die. But there were many things to do: making a coffin, selecting a burial site, choosing an auspicious day, all of which took time. So I pretended to be ill, set a 3-year deadline to die. If within those 3 years I found some reason to live, the coffin wouldn't go bad just sitting there, and could be used sooner or later. Seeing my stern face as if I was angry, Igzi Wuyang carefully tugged at my sleeve. "I originally wanted to come clean with you that day, but who knew I'd be unconscious for so long?" "Coptis boiled in water. That is very bitter medicine. I don't want to take it. Can I have candy after I finish drinking it?" Seeing that he couldn't coax me into a better mood, Shi Wuyang pouted, then looked at the medicine as if facing death. "Fine, no kiss. Then, why so fierce? This medicine is terribly bitter. If you don't believe me, taste it." Before he could finish, the candlelight flickered gently before my eyes. Shi Wuyang's eyes suddenly widened, gripping the brocade blanket beneath him tightly. A brief taste of rouge red lips, 2 hearts illuminating each other. 1,000 bitternesses went unfelt, all sounds of the world unheard. Seeing my smiling eyes, Shi Wuyang actually blushed, burying his head into the blanket. "Then I'll be good and obediently take my medicine." I was wondering why he suddenly became so obedient. Then I heard an excited yet quiet voice from under the blanket. "Once I am better, I'll kiss my wife and sleep together."